welcome, and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. On the program today, we thought we would talk about something such as adversity, or perhaps even possibility. Whatever it may be that we're searching for, sometimes we find ourselves feeling totally alone when we don't have solutions or answers that guide us into the direction that we would like to go, whether it's out of the chaos or towards something that excites or makes us feel rewarded. It'd be interesting to note, though, that we always have support, that we can always reach out and find a way and get that guidance that we're looking for. Perhaps you might want to take a look at how we can find that kind of guidance from God, as we witness how God unfolds the path that we're looking for to the awaited solution that we may be seeking. On the Beyond 50 radio program today, we're going to be joined by a teacher and guest lecturer of Christian Science who was raised in Argentina, and for a short period of time he even lived in Chile. He is a member of the Christian Science Board of Lectureship and also works full-time as a Christian Science practitioner besides being a teacher of this science. I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today someone who's going to wonder whether or not we are ready to take that very first step, our guest, Enrique Smake. Enrique,
great to be here, Daniel.
Yep, thank you for joining us here on the program today. Now, let's talk about, what this is all about when it comes to having an open channel of communication with each of us that we can all access to find inspiration. Tell us what this is all about.
Well, when we are facing decisions with regard to relationships or conflicts in the workplace or health issues, questions come up like what to do first, who to talk to, where to look for answers. How am I going to find a way out of this? Perhaps we think we don't have what it takes in terms of skills or connections or to find a solution to our problem. So it's important that to take the first step forward always, to break that inertia that would try to keep us from moving ahead, waiting maybe for something to happen out there. The other day I ran into this quote from Einstein that says, "Nothing happens until something moves." And how true it is. We have spiritual tools at hand, which God has provided us through ideas in the Bible, and that we can resort to meet the many different challenges we face after day. There isn't something unique we all naturally have. And, in this world of 7 billion people, each one of us has a unique set of fingerprints, as you know. There never was or will ever be anyone else with your fingerprints or mine. Or in the same way, each one of us has a unique path to follow in life, independent from everyone else's path, only dependent on our very special, intimate relationship we have with what we call today God, our spiritual origin, our Creator. So that's the first step that I'm interested in talking about.
So, I guess the question really gets down to taking that first step. So what's the first step that you're referring to?
Well, let me talk a little bit about these tools that we have. There's this passage in the Bible that is about 3,000 years old, and it's in the book of Proverbs, and it was written by King Solomon, the son of King David, and still has relevance today. It says, "Trust in God with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, God, and He will make your path straight." This passage not only speaks of trusting God, which is the creative intelligence that moves everything. But it also speaks of recognizing Him, acknowledging His nature. The Apostle John calls God love. So this passage advises us to keep in mind His love in our way, in all the activities and responsibilities and plans that makes up our day. And the effect of keeping in mind His love in our way is that He will make straight our path, as this proverb says. And only when paths are straight, we can see all the way to the end, right? When paths have many turns and curves, we cannot see where we are going to end up. Well, this trust, this acknowledgement of God's presence occurred first inside of us, in our own consciousness, and then it manifests itself in our life. This act of acknowledging who and what is God has another way of calling it. This acknowledgement of God's presence is prayer. Prayer is the recognition of what is true to God. It is to recognize that He governs all and that we dwell under His jurisdiction. Prayer makes our path straight, like this verse in the Bible says. Prayer is a way for us to see things straight, without fear, without doubt, without mental confusion. So, as you can see, prayer is one of these tools that we inherently have.
Now, you talk about tools. Let's talk a little bit about what these tools are.
Well, prayer is mainly the tool, one of the tools that we have, and this ability to recognize what is true that God has endowed us with, what I'm talking about is explained thoroughly in the book Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy, who is the founder of Christian Science. And this book shows that there are spiritual laws, that is, spiritual ideas and truths that come from God and that are available for everyone who is looking for a solution to health issues or problems at the workplace, relationship. Science and Health teaches how to put these ideas into practice. And these ideas, based on the life and teachings of Jesus Christ as related in the Bible. So, in the first chapter of this book, the first chapter is on the subject of prayer. It shows the reader how to put into practice in our life this connection, this intimate relationship we all have with God. As we learn how close is our life from this all-encompassing principle, capital P, or God, or divine intelligence, we start seeing opportunities, ways of finding new solutions to our problems, open doors that probably were in front of our eyes all the time, and we couldn't see before. So this is also an important thing to keep in mind, this unique relationship we have with God. Now, let me go a little bit on the subject of prayer, because for many people, prayer or meditation, well, for some people, don't see many results in their lives by practicing, others do. But in my case, prayer has brought and continues to bring healing to my life. And to all those who practice prayer and how prayer is taught in this book, Science and Health. When I was in my teens, turning to God in prayer healed me of what had been diagnosed as rheumatic fever. And at different times in my life, I've been healed of different things, infections, from pain, from, fears. Let me tell you about this healing that I had that also involves the healing of a mental conflict I had. One day I got an abscess under one of my eyelids. At first I didn't pay much attention to it. But when it started to bother me, really, I decided I had to do something about it. So as I had done it before in other situations, I turned to prayer to find an answer in what I have learned about God's nature, about love, with capital L. So one night, I was praying the Lord's Prayer, and I stopped where it says, "Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." So thinking about this phrase, that God's will is always good for us, I remembered that at the office, I had observed that one of my colleagues was not completely honest with other people. It was like he had two faces. When he was in a meeting with certain people, he was very friendly, agreeable, willing to go along with everything that was proposed. But later on, in other meetings where those people were not present, he was very critical of them. He almost showed contempt for them. So this bothered me a great deal. Well, this prayer showed me that I needed to forgive him, that I needed to accept him as he was, knowing that God also loved this individual, because God's love for everyone is unconditional. It's unconditional love. And that God's will, as Jesus Christ said, is to love our neighbor as ourselves. Well, my attitude toward this person started to change. And I saw that I needed to be kind to him, to find ways to accentuate in my own perception, in my own thinking of this individual, more the good qualities that he expressed, and trying to find good in this individual. Well, I don't remember when he stopped being critical of other people or if he ever changed. I just remember having stopped thinking about that or putting my attention on how he behaved. The interesting thing is that soon the abscess disappeared and it did not come back. And that was quite a lesson for me. And a lesson on guarding my own thoughts regarding other people and think of others as I would like others to think of me. That's another way of putting the golden rule.
Now, it's really fascinating when you think about, the tools that we have available to us, how we take our first steps, things such as that. So where would you consider the ideas of this talk as far as where the sources come from?
Yeah. The source of this talk is what we call, what it is, Christian Science. And Christian Science is totally based on the teachings of the Bible, And I would say that he teaches about what God is, actually, that what really is as love, as mind, as divine intelligence. That he is not something unreachable out there. For many people, they say, well, I don't know how to reach God. I don't understand. I don't know what my connection is with God. And of course, God can be felt as unreachable. If we think of him as a being, like an amplified human being. And as soon as we try to imagine God to be similar to man, we are assigning dual, corporeal characteristics to this infinite being, which is God. And by duality, I mean thinking of God as being able to send out both good and evil at the same time. That sometimes he's in a good mood, and other times he's in a bad mood. But sometimes he gives us a good day, and other times not such a good one. So, but when we see that there is no such mixture in God, that he is love himself, love with capital L, as I said before, and that he can only love, that he is all intelligence, that he is infinite spirit with capital S, all good. Then we begin to see why he is eternal. He has no destructive element in its nature. God is the creator, and we are, each one of us, are his spiritual image and likeness right now. God not only wants our life to be all good for us, but he also causes all that is good in our life, because God is good himself. God does not change his mind. The Bible says he's in one mind, and who can turn him? What his soul desires, even that he does. That is in the book of Job. So God never stops communicating with us. That's why, as I mentioned before, prayer is so important, because prayer is a way of listening to what he is telling us for our own good.
Wow, it seems like there's just so much to take in here. And then you talk about prayer, and many people resort to prayer meditation, but has it brought any practical results, maybe in your experience?
But yeah, it helped me find a direction in my life. It helped me see that how to overcome fears and doubts. I found healing, and so prayer, according to what is taught in Christian Science, really is a magnificent tool that we can bring up in our lives. I usually get up early in the morning and just pray, and that kind of starts my day on the right track. I can help me see things in a different way. Helps me change the perspective of things, which, as you know, when we change our perspective of things, the things around us change. So it's so important that to keep this channel of communication open between God and us, and it's a channel that in which we find inspiration and progress and healing, and we learn to see that prayer is reasoning with the heart and letting God have the last word, and that prayer shows us that we have given a unique path in life, and that path is not as much unfolded by our own will, but it is God who unfolds our path in life and shows us how to move forward. If you allow me, I'd like to talk about really the subject of satisfaction, because we learn through the study of Christian Science to find satisfaction in our own answers through prayer. And I don't know if, which is not an impossible task. You may have noticed that it is only when we come up with our own conclusions about some issue, when we get our own answers, that we finally get satisfied, because we may have a lot of questions and go out and ask lots of people that were very, very helpful, and we may get wonderful answers to different aspects of our lives or our situations. But those answers sometimes are not quite satisfying, It's not until we reason things through, until we find this answer through our own way of thinking, that we feel satisfied. And there is an interesting line in the Bible referring to God that reads, "I shall be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness." And it's interesting that in this line there are two words, the key words, satisfied and awake. And isn't it telling us that satisfaction comes with being awake? So if we feel unsatisfied with, let's say, our work or our relationships with our friends or family, or with our scarce supply of needs, if we are not feeling satisfied, it's because we are asleep. It says, I'll be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness. Therefore, if I'm satisfied, it's because I am asleep. I'm not conscious of what the solution is. Who am I? So, how important is to be awake to whom we really are, to find satisfaction. Being like this line says, God's likeness. But who is God? Divine intelligence, divine love, likeness. So we are here now today, right now, the image and likeness of this infinite mind, this infinite love. And being awake to this fact brings satisfaction to our needs. And it also brings the answers that make us feel satisfied. So that's another, may help answer all these questions. There's another Bible line that Jesus Christ tells us in the Bible that, "Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." How good is to know that we are always under, and there's this divine jurisdiction when we accept it, when we are open our minds to it, and that there is always good coming from God, and that we can feel and experience and bring to our lives and all of the lives of all that are surrounding us this sense of well-being and being a blessing to others.
Now, at the beginning, you talked about the intimate relationship we have, but a lot of people don't feel that way. For a lot of them, they feel that God is distant or unreachable. How do you explain that?
Yeah, this comes from thinking that God is a big human being with a beard up there and trying to rule us or punish us or that is like a big human being. But as we get to know, and find that God is all love, is God is good. God is the good of our life. And that we are never separated from Him. It's the Apostle Paul says that in one of his speeches that in Him we live and move and have our being. How true that is! That we are living and moving and having our being in God's spiritual dimension, in God's spiritual way of seeing things. That we are His image and likeness right now, and but not the image of likeness of a finite mortal being, but we are now the image and likeness of a divine mind that is always caring for us, that is always supplying our needs, and that changes the way we see things and the way we feel things. And I tell you, I've been studying this book, Science and Health, with Key to the Scriptures, all my life, and this book is every time that I read some of its passages, and I read it several times, it comes alive, and it brings a new perspective of what our life is, what our purpose is in this life, what are we here for, and how it is that He never stops caring for us and loving us. And so I would recommend all those who are listening, if they can get hold of this book, Science and Health, at a Christian Science reading room. They can buy it, or they can, borrow it there, and they will see that a new way of seeing what God is and what our life is. Well, David, it's been great talking with you, and do you have any other questions for me?
Yes. Why don't you touch on some of the main points that you'll be talking about in your lecture?
Oh, well, yeah. This lecture is about finding this channel of communication we have with God. Is a channel in which we always find inspiration and progress and healing. Is it how to reason with the heart and letting God open our path in life. How to find this unique path that we all have, and how to see things new under a more spiritual perspective.
Well, very good. Is there a local website people can go to find out more?
Yeah, this website is a PDXCS lecture series.com. PDXCS lecture series.com.
Very good. Thank you for joining us here on the program today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Pleasure is mine.
You bet. We want to thank you, the listeners out there, for joining us. You can also discover more by visiting us at beyond50radio.com. That is the number 50. We do encourage you to sign up for our weekly e-newsletter and keep up to date with what's going on in the world of Beyond 50, as well as our upcoming shows. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for joining us. This is the Beyond 50 radio program, and remember, live your day past halfway.